محمد وآل محمد. In Surah Hijr, which is the 15th chapter of Quran Majid, the last verse of the surah, which is verse number 99, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that worship Allah, wa'abud rabbaka, and worship your Lord, hatta ya'atiyaka al-yaqeen, until He gives you yaqeen, until He gives you certainty. Yaqeen is certainty. Now, the opposite of yaqeen is shak. Its simple way of understanding something is to see at the opposite. The way Rasulullah says, tu'raful ashya bi azdadiha, which means that if you want to understand something, look at its opposite, then you will understand. The way Sa'di, a great poet, was asked that, where did you learn ethics from? So he said, he was a great poet, so you'll expect him to speak in a poetic form. So he says that adab as bi adaban amukhtam. Adab means ethics, characters, good manners. And bi adab is bad manners. So when he was asked, where did you learn ethics from? He said that adab as bi adaban amukhtam. I looked at those people who didn't have adab. Now with us it's different. With us, when we look at bi adab, we become bi adab. We become of those who lose ethics. But in his case, he was very wise, Sa'di, a great poet, Iranian poet. He says that I was looking at bi adaban. I look at those who don't have ethics, who have lost ethics. I look at them, and then he continues. He says that what they do, I don't practice. What they do, I don't practice. So it's necessary, it's important for us to look at the opposite things to understand that particular thing. تُعْرَفُ الْأَشْيَاء بِأَزْدَادِهَا. So the opposite of yaqeen, if we want to understand what is yaqeen, we look at its opposite, and the opposite is shak. The way the opposite of knowledge is ignorance. We want to understand knowledge. So what is the opposite of knowledge? It is ignorance. Now, yaqeen has got 3 stages, according to the scholars. They say that the first stage is ilmul yaqeen, and then you have got ainul yaqeen, and then you have got haqqul yaqeen. And interestingly, they've mentioned this in their books. Now, they say, the scholars say, ilmul yaqeen is that when you see something, when you see some signs, okay, from somewhere, and then when you see those signs, you'll come to understand and comprehend that there is something. When you see the effect, you will know that there is a cause there. Example, outside the house, if you see a smoke, then you will have that certainty and that yaqeen inside that there is fire somewhere. That is why there is that effect. What is the effect? The effect is that smoke, which is coming out from the house. Yeah? This is ilmul yaqeen. You have got ilm of yaqeen. The second stage is ainul yaqeen. What is ainul yaqeen? Ainul yaqeen, Quran has mentioned these stages also. That's why the scholars have interpreted and elaborated in depth. The scholars say that the second stage is ainul yaqeen, which means that a person sees himself, he witnesses himself with his own eyes. The way Amirul Mu'minin Ali ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, says, you all know this hadith of Ali alayhi salam, and I won't repeat. I'll just go through other hadiths of Ali alayhi salam. That when he was asked that, Ya Ali, have you seen your Lord? And he said that, yes, I've seen him with my own eyes, with the eyes of my heart. So he has seen. This is ainul yaqeen. There's another interesting hadith of Amirul Mu'minin. He says that, Ma ra'aytu shay'an. I have not seen anything. I have not seen a thing. Ali alayhi salam says, Ma ra'aytu shay'an. Illa, he says that, Illa ra'aytullah qablahu ba'dahu wa ma'ahu. He says that I have not seen a thing, but I have seen Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before it, after it, and with it. And everywhere, wherever I saw, Ali alayhi salam says. Now see, I just want to explain you the level of ma'rifah. It's very hard for us to understand the ma'rifah of Amirul Mu'minin and his yaqeen. There's no doubt in it. But I just want to bring his ahadith and present it to you and try to comprehend a bit how he was, which kind of personality was he, and see his yaqeen. He says, wherever I saw, it was before that thing, before that entity is Allah, after that entity is Allah, and with that entity is Allah. Now it reminds me of the dua which we recited right now, which we heard right now, which starts with, this is the dua of Amirul Mu'minin, dua Kumel. But how does it start? It starts says, Allahumma inni as'aluka bi rahmatika allati wasi'at kulla shay. See, this is the level of iman and yaqeen of Amirul Mu'minin. See his yaqeen, his certainty. When he prays to Allah, when he asks Allah, when he converses and communicates with Allah, he says that I beseech, Allahumma inni as'aluka birahmatika allati wasi'at kulla shay. I beseech to Allah that everything encompasses his rahmah. Everything in the world encompasses his mercy. And he says it is that Lord, he is that Lord, that his mercy is everywhere. I see everywhere, wherever I see it is Allah. This is called Ainul Yaqeen. Now this is not for us. It is not for you and me. It is for personalities like Amirul Mu'minin. And again, Quran bears witness. If you see Quran Majid in Surah Qamar, chapter 54, just before Surah Rahman, Surah Qamar. Surah Qamar. Interestingly, easy for us to remember. Chapter 54, verse 54. Okay, so in chapter 54, verse 54, Surah Qamar, verse 54, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Innal muttaqina fi jannatin wa nahar. See, he says that these muttaqeen, these pious people, they are already in Jannat. Jannat is gardens, paradises. They are already in paradises and they are already in the springs flowing. Innal muttaqina fi jannatin wa nahar. With their ayn al-yaqeen, they've already reached there. They're already there in the paradise. It's not that they will go to paradise. They're already there. Innal muttaqina fi jannatin wa nahar. And again, if you see Nahjul Balagha, I mentioned this before, but I'll mention quickly, that Ali alayhi salam mentions approximately 110 qualities of pious people. He's got a special khutbah, which is called khutbah muttaqin. From those virtues of the pious people, virtue number 9, interestingly, Amirul Mu'minin mentions about the yaqeen of the pious people. And he says that these people, they are such, their yaqeen is such. See, ayn al-yaqeen of the pious people. He says their yaqeen is such that fahum wal jannatu kaman kad ra'aha. For them it is as if they can see Jannah, kad ra'aha, ayn al-yaqeen. Fahum wal jannatu kaman kad ra'aha. Fahum fiha muna'amun. Muna'amun means, don't we say in namaz, Ihdina as-sarat al-mustaqim, sarat al-ladhina ana'amta. You keep us on the path of those whom you have bestowed your ni'mah. Muna'amun, you have bestowed your ni'mah. He says that they are those, they are as if they can test and they can enjoy. It is as if they can enjoy the blessings, the bliss of paradise. They are those. That the blessings of paradise is bestowed to them and they can enjoy in the world, but they are enjoying, they can see the paradise with their own eyes. Now this is very hard to reach the stage, but it is there. This stage is there according to the scholars. This is called Ainul Yaqeen. And not only that, it is not that they can enjoy only the ni'mah and the bounties of paradise. No. Then Imam Ali alayhi salam continues, it is the wahum wan naru kaman kadra'aha. And if a nar they can see with their ayn al-yaqeen, with their eyes. This is the second stage. They can see nar, they can see fire. Wahum wan naru kaman kadra'aha fahum fiha mu'azzabun. It is as if they can test the azab of Allah. This is virtue number 9. That's why they don't go towards sins. They are scared of sins. They are so pious. They don't go towards sins. You know, sometimes when sins are taking place, we enjoy. Example, backbiting takes place. We go there and we just keep our ears there. We are enjoying. Yeah? But pious people, for them, this is not the case. If they see a haram is taking place, they will move. Why? Because they can see fire there. They've got that ayn al-yaqeen, and they can see with the eyes of their hearts, with chashme basirat. Because why we cannot see them? Why when backbiting takes place, we enjoy? In haram there is mithas. Why do we enjoy? Because our eyes are already blind therein, in the heart. And now we cannot test that virtue number 9, which Amirul Mu'minin mentions. It is for the pious people. If we strive and we struggle, Allah will give us that Ainul Yaqeen. That is until and unless we struggle for it. until we yearn for it and we strive for it, then we will achieve it, then we will attain it. And then the third stage of yaqeen, the third stage of certainty is haqqul yaqeen. So the first stage is ilmul yaqeen. A person has got ilm. Notice that there is a difference between ilm and yaqeen itself. Ilm means what? Ilm means a person has got knowledge. He has a knowledge of Allah, example. An atheist also, perhaps, he has got knowledge of Allah, let alone atheist. It's a very far example of atheist. We mustn't take the example of atheist. Amongst ourselves, sometimes. Amongst ourselves, there is a person who's got knowledge of Allah, completely. But he's not bothered of Allah, completely. He doesn't want to know about Allah. He doesn't maintain that relation with Allah. He's not bothered. Yeah? Fir'aun, he did not bother about Allah. He had ilm of Allah. He had ilm of Allah, but he was not bothered. But he had ilm, but he was not bothered. He had ilm, but he didn't have yaqeen. Fir'aun did not have yaqeen to Allah. Yaqeen means that certainty of Allah. He witnessed himself the mu'jiza, the miracles of Musa alayhi salam, but he did not have that yaqeen. And what is that yaqeen? Yaqeen is to submit towards Allah, to accept inside with your mind and your soul, and then you submit towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is yaqeen. That is yaqeen. Now the third stage is haqqul yaqeen. So the first stage is you see a smoke from a house, and then when you see a cause, you'll know, when you see the effect, you'll know there is a cause there, when you see some signs. The second stage is ainul yaqeen. You see yourself, the way Quran says, ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترونها أين اليقين. When they will enter in their graves, they will see with their eyes of yaqeen. That is the second stage of yaqeen, of certainty. And then the third stage is haqqul yaqeen. Haqqul yaqeen is when a person now, he does not see the effect of the cause, or he sees with his eyes. No, he can feel haqqul yaqeen. This is the furthest stage. That is, now he can feel. Example, now he's inside the fire. First he sees the fire. The third stage is that he can feel that heat, that warmth. He can feel the heat of the fire. And this is the third stage of haqqul yaqeen. Please recite a salawat. And then when a person reaches to that stage, you will find that the more he reaches to that stage, he becomes more humble. Take example of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. On the day of Ashura, the reporters say that it was amazing. The way the time went, we could see nur from the face of Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam. You can imagine the calamities which he faced, the tragedy, the tribulations which he faced. It was not easy. At our house, if 2-3 people pass away in one day, what will be our situation? But the situation of Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam, Ravi says, the reporter says, the way the time went, we could see nur from the face of Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam. This was that yaqeen. And not only him, but even even his companions. That Imam Hussein alayhi salam raised their yaqeen. That on the night of Ashura, Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam, when he gathered them there, and when he called them, and they all assembled with Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam, and you all know the story that Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam told them that whoever wants to go, they should go. And they said that no, we won't go. Then Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam took his 2 fingers, the index finger and the middle finger, and then he kept, and when they refused, and then when Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam, again he switched on the lamp, and when they all were there, Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam showed them their status in the paradise. And they themselves, he says that, oh Hilal, this is your status in the paradise. They saw themselves with their own eyes. See, Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam, what is he doing? He's raising their yaqeen. This is your status, oh Hilal. Oh Abbas, this is your status. And they all stood their station in paradise. And this is how Hussein ibn Ali alayhi salam raised their status. And that is why when our 5th Holy Imam was asked, An akhbirni an ashabil Hussein. When he was asked, inform us about the companions of Hussein. The fifth Holy Imam said that their status was so high, that their yaqeen was so high to that extent that they could not feel the metal, they could not feel the arrows, they could not feel the spear, they could not feel the sword and the pain of the sword. They could not feel. When they went, why? Because inside the intensity of iman, of faith, and the intensity of certainty was to that extent that if they were affected and they were attacked, nothing would affect them. It was not affecting them. Why? Because the intensity of yaqeen, it reached to that stage. That is why at the time of the Holy Prophet of Islam, Hazrat Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when somebody informed him, he said that, Ya Rasulullah, we heard that Isa alayhi salam and his companions and his Hawariyun, they would walk on the water. So you know what did Rasul reply? Rasul said that لَوْ زَادَ يَقِينُهُ لَمَشَى فِي الْهَوَىٰ. Only walking on the water? Obviously, Rasul was higher than Isa. Rasul says that if Isa and his companions, their yaqeen would have been higher, then they could not only on the water, they could have flown on with the wind, in the wind, and people would see, they would have walked in the wind. لَقَدْ مَشَى فِي الْهَوَىٰ. La masha means to walk. They would have walked. La masha fil hawa. They would have walked in the wind. If the yaqeen would have been higher. So yaqeen raises mu'min. It raises mu'min. They can see with their own eyes. And see, Ibrahim alayhi salam prayed to Allah. What did he say? And you all know the story, but I'll just give you the verse. He said that I want to see how will you raise the dead, the deceased on the day of judgment. Now this was Ibrahim. So what did Allah say? Allah told him that you gather 4 birds. Now the spiritualists say that those birds were of different kinds. They were not same kind of birds. One bird, according to the spiritualists, they said that one bird was a pigeon. The other bird was a cock. The third bird was a crow. And the fourth bird was a peacock. And then the spiritualists say that all these 4 birds, they had their own reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala instructed him, commanded him to get 4 different kinds of birds. They're not all kind of birds, same kinds of birds, no, different kinds of birds. The spiritualist said that he was told that call pigeon and crush him, and then all 4 birds were crushed, isn't it? And he kept them all in the same utensil. And then he mixed them, and then he took their pieces, he kept in 4 different mountains, and Ibrahim stood just in between, and then he was told to call them. And when he called them, all the birds came intact, the way they were before. They returned in their original situation. Ibrahim himself, he smashed them, he destroyed them, he cut them into pieces, he slaughtered them, and then he kept them in 4 different mountains. And now he calls them with their names. O pigeon come, O cock come, O crow come, and O peacock come. They all came in their original form. And then the spiritualists say that, do you know why Allah instructed him to destroy a pigeon? A pigeon? Because a pigeon, there is a reason. Why a pigeon? A pigeon because you should learn, O Ibrahim, how to sacrifice. Pigeon stands for the love of social life, the love of family, friends, and associates. So, O Ibrahim, you be ready. If it is for Allah, you have to sacrifice. You need to have that yaqeen and sacrifice your associates, your family, and your friends for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If it is, meaning what? Meaning to love. Al-hub fillah wal-bughd fillah. Even if it is friendship, keep for Allah. If it is enmity, do enmity for Allah, not for personal desire. Isn't it? For Allah. So that is why a pigeon was for social life. The second was a cock. Cock, it stands for animalistic desire and animalistic passion, lust. We all have that desire. O Ibrahim, you are supposed to sacrifice and kill and destroy that animalistic desire. Cock stands for that animalistic desire. The third kind of bird was a crow, and that stands for greed. All of us have got greed inside. You kill that greed and destroy that greed for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the 4th bird was a peacock, and that is for adornment of this world. For you sacrifice and you smother that adornment of this world for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Leave this adornment for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If it is for Allah, then leave it and smother it. That is why peacock stands for the adornment of this world. Please recite a salawat. मोहतरम सामीन, सूरह कहफ में आपने पढ़ा होगा और आपने अगर गौर किया होगा तो आपने देखा होगा कि सूरह कहफ में 3 वाक़यात हैं. पहले तो असहाबे कहफ का वाक़या है, उसके बाद मूसा और खिज़र का वाक़या है, और तीसरा वाक़या ज़ुल्करनैन का वाक़या है. सूरह कहफ बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग स्टोरी है, और खुदा जाने कि इमाम हुसैन अलैहिस्सलाम ने पता नहीं क्यों सूरह कहफ को चुना. कि इमाम भी जब ये सरे बुरीदा जब नो के नेज़े पे था तो सब सूरह को छोड़ के इमाम अलैहिस्सलाम ने सूरह कहफ को चुना. बहरहाल सूरह कहफ में आपने देखा होगा कि वो मूसा और खिज़र का वाक़या जब आता है तो खिज़र 3 चीज़ें अंजाम देते हैं. पहले तो सुराख करते हैं उस आर्क पे, उस कश्ती पे. उसका भी एक रीज़न है जो कुरान ने बताया है. और दूसरी चीज़ जो खिज़र करते हैं वो ये है कि वो बच्चे को मार डालते हैं, है ना. फिर रीज़न ये है, रिवायत में आया है कि वो बच्चा काफिर बनने वाला था और अपने वालिदैन को भी गुमराह करने वाला था, इसीलिए खुदा ने हुक्म दिया कि उसको मार डालो. और उसके बाद खुदावंद करीम ने उस कपल को बेटी अता की. अजीब है ना, बेटी अता की, जिसके ज़रिए से वो बेटी, उनकी नस्ल से 70 प्रोफेट्स आई. बनी इसराइल के 70 प्रोफेट्स आए, 70 अंबिया आए उस बेटी के ज़रिए. तो और तीसरी चीज़ जो खिज़र ने अंजाम दिया जो अजीब था कि खिज़र अलैहिस्सलाम ने एक दीवार बनाई, दीवार को खड़ा किया. और मूसा को ताज्जुब हुआ कि आपने क्यों दीवार को खड़ा किया. ये पूरा वाक़या बयान किया गया है कुरान मजीद में सूरह कहफ में. आपको नहीं करना चाहिए था. ये वही इलाका है जहाँ पे इन लोगों ने हमें दावत दी, उन लोगों ने हमें कुछ वेलकम किया, फिर भी आपने दीवार खड़ा किया. तो खिज़र ने जवाब दिया कि यहाँ पे क्योंकि खजाना है. फिर उसूल काफ़ी में रिवायत मिलती है हमारे छठे इमाम की. छठे इमाम फरमाते हैं कि खजाना मिला 2 बच्चों का जो यतीम थे. काना अबाहुमा सालेह, क्योंकि उनके वालिद सालेह थे. तो लेसन ये मिलता है, दर्स ये मिलता है कि अगर वालिद सालेह बने, बच्चा संचवाई जा से, खुदावंद करीम बच्चे को सांचेंगे, खुदा बच्चे को रखेगा अच्छी तरीके से. लिहाजा बाप को सालेह बनना चाहिए. पहला दर्स ये है. दूसरी चीज़ ये है कि इमाम सादिक फरमाते, आप क्या सोचते हैं कि वो खजाना क्या सोना था, हीरा था, चांदी था, जेवर थे? इमाम फरमाते नहीं, वो जेवर नहीं थे, ट्रेजर्स नहीं थे, वो वहां पे वसीयत थी. अजीब वसीयत थी. कौन सी वसीयत थी? उसमें से फकत उस वसीयत में एक कागज था और उस कागज में वर्ड्स ऑफ विजडम थे. फकत 4 जुमले थे. उस जुमले में लिखा हुआ था वो खजाना तो जो था ना, और कुरान ने उसको खजाना बयान किया, ट्रेजर बयान किया. अहादीस में छठे इमाम फरमाते वो ट्रेजर था. तो पता चला कि हकीकी ट्रेजर क्या है? वर्ड्स ऑफ विजडम है हकीकी ट्रेजर. उसमें लिखा हुआ था, बाप ने अपने फर्जंद के लिए वसीयत लिखी, ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह. पहले तो ये लिखा ला इलाहा इल्लल्लाह. उसके बाद लिखा अजिब्तु लिमन ऐकना बिल मौत कैफ यफरह. दूसरा जुमला, मुझे ताज्जुब होता है कि इंसान के पास यकीन है कि मौत आने वाली है, फिर भी वो खुश है. अजिब्तु लिमन ऐकना बिल कद्र कैफ यहज़ुन. उसको यकीन है. दोबारा तीसरा जुमला, उसको यकीन है कि कद्र कज़ा के साथ उसको यकीन है, फिर भी वो महजून है. अजिब्तु लिमन ऐकना बिद्दुनिया कैफ यतमइन्नु इलैहा. वो जानता है बिज़वाल दुनिया कैफ यतमइन्नु इलैहा. वो उसको यकीन है कि ये दुनिया जवाल पे आने वाली है ना. ये दुनिया आप जानते हैं किसी के साथ वफा नहीं करती है, किसी के साथ भी, फिर भी उनको कैसा इत्मीनान है इस दुनिया के साथ. वो कैसे इत्मीनान रख सकता है दुनिया के साथ. तो ये वो खजाना था, यकीन के बारे में रखा गया था उस बच्चे के लिए. और खिज़र ने इसीलिए दीवार बनाई थी ताकि ये खजाना महफूज रहे. और ये हमारे लिए भी दर्स है कि हमें खुदावंद करीम हमारे यकीन में इजाफा करे. और दोबारा इंसान, अगर मैं आपके अज़हान को करबला की तरफ ले चलूं, کہ کربلا میں پتہ نہیں کیسے کیسے لوگ تھے واقعاً، ان کی یقین عجیب تھے، یقین کا درجہ اتنا اونچا تھا کہ شخصیت جیسے محمد ابن بشیر سے کہا گیا کہ ان کو خبر ملی کہ ان کے فرزند ریئی میں ان کو کڈنیپ کیا گیا، اسیر کیا گیا، اور امام حسین علیہ السلام محمد ابن بشیر سے کہتے کہ جاؤ، میں تمہیں اجازت دیتا ہوں، تم نے بیعت دی لیکن میں پلٹاتا ہوں تمہاری بیعت، تم جاؤ اور تمہارے بچے کو رہا کرو، تمہارے فرزند کو رہا کرو۔ تو جواب میں پتہ ہے کہ محمد ابن بشیر کیا کہتے ہیں کربلا میں عاشور کے دن؟ وہ کہتے ہیں کہ یا ابن رسول اللہ، میں آپ سے دور ہو جاؤں، اس سے بہتر ہے کہ جانور مجھ پر حملہ کرے اور مجھے تباہ کرے، جنگلی حیوان مجھ پر حملہ کرے اور مجھے تباہ کرے، بنسبت کہ میں آپ کو تنہا چھوڑوں۔ پھر امام نے ان کو پیسہ دیا اور امام نے کہا کہ تمہارے فرزند کو، کم سے کم تمہارے فرزند کو بھیجو۔ تو انہوں نے، ان کا یقین آپ دیکھیں، محمد ابن بشیر حضری وہ کہتے ہیں کہ میری جان اور میرے فرزند کی زندگی خدا کے حوالے، میں نے خدا کے حوالے دے دیا۔ اور وہ کہتے ہیں کہ عاشور میں محمد ابن بشیر حضری ان کو بھی جام شہادت ملتی ہے۔ اسی لیے تو بی بی زینب علیہ السلام عاشور کے دن یا شب عاشور، زینب کا دل بہت گھبراتا تھا۔ زینب نے اپنے ماجھائی سے کہا تھا کہ بھیا مجھے بہت ڈر سا لگتا ہے، آئے یہ آپ کے اصحاب آپ سے وفا کریں گے یا نہیں کریں گے؟ ایک مرتبہ کبھی ہرملا کی فوج آئی، کبھی شمر ملعون آتا گیا، جب گھوڑوں کی ٹاپوں کی آواز آتی تھی زینب کا دل گھبراتا تھا۔ زینب اپنے ماں جائے کے پاس آتی تھی اور کہتی تھی کہ اے میرے بھائی، آیا آپ کا کوئی دوست یاور مونس نہیں ہے جو آپ کی مدد کے لیے آئے؟ ہر روز نئی فوج آتی تھی۔ حسین کا دل ایک مرتبہ کوفے کی طرف روانہ ہوا، حسین نے اپنے دوست کو نامہ لکھا، اے میرے دوست حبیب، دشمنوں نے حسین کو گھیرا ہے کربلا میں، اگر تم نے میرے ساتھ وفاداری کی، اگر تم نے میری نصرت کی تو قیامت کے دن میرے نانا تمہیں ہاتھ پکڑ کے، ہاتھ تھام کے جنت کی طرف لے جائیں گے۔ عزاداروں، جب حبیب ابن مظاہر کربلا آتے ہیں نا، اور جب آواز آتی ہے گھوڑوں کی ٹاپوں کی اور حسین کی فوج سے تکبیر کی آواز آتی ہے، ایک مرتبہ زینب نے تکبیر کی آواز سنی، زینب نے فضہ سے کہا، اماں فضہ ذرا جاؤ دیکھو کون آیا ہے۔ فضہ جب واپس آتی ہے تو فضہ کہتی ہے، اے شہزادی، میرے سید و آقا کے بچپن کے دوست حبیب آئے ہوئے۔ ایک مرتبہ زینب جب سنتی ہے تو زینب کہتی ہے، اے اماں فضہ، حبیب کو میرا سلام کہو اور کہو کہ زینب نے سلام بھیجا ہے۔ جب یہ سلام ملتا ہے شہزادی کا تو حبیب ابن مظاہر اپنے گالوں پہ، اپنے رخسار پہ تماچا مارتے ہیں اور کہتے ہیں، اہل البیت کے اوپر یہ وقت آیا کہ زینب مجھ جیسے غلام پر سلام بھیجتی ہے، اور زینب یہ پیغام بھیجتی ہے کہ میرے بھائی کے بچپن کے دوست سے کہو کہ بہت برے وقت پہ وہ مہمان ہوئے، زینب کے یہاں 2 قطرے پانی بھی نہیں ہے کہ آپ کی مہمان نوازی کروں۔ الا لعنت اللہ علی القوم الظالمین وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون رضا بقضائه وتسليما لأمره۔ توجه زيارة وارث